So my project today is transforming a room and creating a perfect playroom for children to play in. So what we're going to do is actually select some colours, we're going to do some preparation, and we're also going to show you some hints and tips of how to get a fantastic finish. So as you see here, I've already started the room, but before I did the painting on the wall, I had to do some preparation on the wall to make sure it was perfect for the paint to give you a nice finish. So there's a few little lumps and bumps or any little craters or cracks, just using something like a fine surface filler that you can get in your home-based store. Apply that with a little spatula, make sure you've got it slightly proud, let that dry and then just rub back down with a fine sandpaper. Then you're ready to start the painting process. So you need a good quality brush. In this case I'm going to use the Harris synthetic brush. This is ideal for water-based paints because it gives you a nice even flow of paint, and you can get these in your home-based store. To decide what paint you're going to use, in this case I'm going to suggest that you use something like the Crown Easy Clean. And this is ideal paint for this particular room environment because it's a very scrubbable, durable paint which is stain resistant as well. One of the other advantages of using the Crown paint is that it's breathe easy. Now that means that once it's dry, it's virtually odour free, which enables you to get right back into the room and use it once the paint's dry, more or less straight away. So we're going to apply it just as a regular standard emulsion. First thing we're going to do is the cutting in, as I said. And what we do is with the cutting in, we just make sure that we've got a nice even amount of paint, cutting in around the edges and right up to the corners, and therefore then when you use the roller, it's got something nice to cut into and give you a perfect finish. So let's start. When painting the pipe on the radiator, one tip is to put some masking tape round the edge of the base. This enables you to get the brush right in to give a nice neat finish. So having cut in on the lime green wall, I'm ready now to use the roller. And just one tip is when you're applying with the roller, on the upward stroke apply the pressure and just slightly take it away and slow down on the downward stroke. This will take away that problem with the spatter of the paint. When painting the wall, one of the challenges that you might encounter is a radiator. One of the solutions for this is using the Harris Flexi Roller. This is ideal for getting behind the radiator without having to remove it from the wall. When using a new roller, one tip is to use the masking tape around the roller. This will then remove any of the loose fibres and therefore give you the best finish when applying onto the surface. When painting a radiator, the best place to start is the edges, working your way then onto the mouldings and the recesses. As paint tends to build up, you do need to make sure that you pick up any runs or drips before the paint starts to dry. This then will ensure you have a perfect finish. Well, having finished the decorating of the room, one thing that really will make the room look good is if we can add a little bit of colour in some of the finishing touches. And in this case, we're going to use some of these blank pieces of furniture. Just bought this bookcase from Argos, and it was just a blank, painted it with a primer, and now we're going to paint it with the Crown Easy Clean. As I said earlier, we can actually use the Easy Clean on wood and on metal, and in this case, obviously, ideal for the furniture piece. So the bookcase, starting with, as I say, I've just painted it white as a primer. I'm going to use the brush initially just to cut into the edges. So we're just going to take the brush to just take all the corner edges pieces. And once we've got that very quickly and easily done, we'll be able to finish the flat areas using the mini roller. So very much a little toy house as we paint the room in real life. Well, as you can see, just to add some finishing touches to the room, I'm going to use a stencil, and it's quite simple to do really, but there's a couple of tips that might make it easier for you. As you can see over the lime green wall here, I'm going to use the sky blue emulsion which I used on the furniture pieces, and that brings the whole decor scheme in together. As you can see, you've got a piece of plastic stencil which you can get from your home-based store. To allow it to stick to the wall, what I'm using is the spray mount adhesive. And this is a very simple method of making sure that you get a nice removable sticky backing to the surface, but it also means that it doesn't tend to smudge up. One of the other options is using a low tack masking tape on the corners. But once you've positioned it onto the surface, you need to make sure that you have a nice straight edge with this border stencil here. So I just use a spirit level and just a very fine pencil. Now don't worry too much about the pencil being on the Easy Clean, because one good thing is it's a really scrubbable, durable, so we can actually use an eraser to take that pencil mark off quite easily after we've positioned it. But as you can see, once we've the stencil sorted, is actually how do you put the paint on. So there's two options really. You can use a stenciling brush, which is a very small stippling sort of technique, but what I've done is just used a piece of foam, used some masking tape and made a very, very smooth little rounded mushroom shape here. So that's one that I did earlier as a spare one for a second colour if you wanted to use an alternative colour. So it's very simple and cheap to do, but using my little mini tray here, take some of the paint, and the other thing is you can use a paint from the tester pot if you wanted to add various colours without having to invest a lot of money in lots of 2.5 litre buckets. So we've got the paint on the tray there, and we're able to then put it using the button sort of applicator very, very easily. Work from the outsides of the stencil into the centre, then you won't get paint smudging under the actual stencil itself. So we're just going to reposition the stencil and continue along the wall as we were doing before. Just using a rocking roller action will allow the paint to just put on without being too runny and therefore getting runs and dribbles underneath the stencil. So you have a nice sharp crisp finish which looks absolutely perfect. So there we have it. We've finished the children's playroom now. I think you'd agree, absolutely stunning with all these beautiful bright colours from the Crown Easy Clean range. Over here with the sticky fingers, contrasting brilliantly with the lime green on the wall opposite. All the finishing touches of the furniture, we've added some other colours there from the Easy Clean range. And these are all available from Homebase. I think you'd agree, really, any child would love to play in this room.